And we're back. What's up, everybody? Benja Welldone coming at you live on this rainy, beautiful day in Texas. Today is December the 9th at 5:44 in the morning. How are you doing? So, security alarms, police, and jiu-jitsu. Well, that's a lot to unpack. So let's just get into it. Here's the thing. I don't understand what sense or no sense people have to believe that they can have a security alarm for their house because it gives them like some sense of awareness that they're like protected, some sort of a feeling that the police, second part of the video, all right, will be able to help you. When in fact, one of these people, or the majority of which, don't train any sort of physical combat of any type. You know what I mean? How could you honestly believe that it's a good idea to have a security alarm for your house and not have a security alarm, self-defense, for your body? It makes no sense. In a real emergency, the first line of defense should be yourself. And you're really messing up the layers of defense by having nothing for yourself, the police, which will be there in 20 minutes, good luck, okay? And then your immediate response, which is pushing an alarm. All you're doing, like a security alarm, is basically like hitting the snooze alarm for your life. Seriously, think about it. It makes no sense. If your life was in potential peril of danger of some kind, why would you hit the snooze alarm for your life, okay? And hit that security alarm, knowing full well that you don't have any sort of a personal protection against you. You can always say, hey, I have a gun. Maybe you do have a gun. That's great. Why don't you make yourself the first gun and train jiu-jitsu? I'm just saying. Now, a lot of people might not know what jiu-jitsu is. And if not, I'll basically explain it to you like this. There's different forms of martial arts. There's boxing and there's wrestling. You might say wrestling is a martial art. Sure it is. You can choke people in wrestling, just not the kind in college. It's called catch wrestling, but that's besides the point. Judo, kickboxing, they're all forms of a combat art. Jiu-jitsu is the kind where you see people on the ground trying to break stuff and choke people and things of that nature. You need to train jiu-jitsu. You need to train jiu-jitsu because unlike all of the other combat systems of fighting, take boxing for example, you have a preconceived idea notion that boxing is a far better and superior martial art. Why? Because you've seen it work effectively in sports and in boxing, and you may say every single fight stands up. Well, there is some truth to that, but here's the thing. Every single preconceived notion and idea and sum total of all of your thoughts that have to do with fighting basically mean nothing, because all those conclusions that you've made for all combat sports, for boxing, kickboxing, etc., they all have weight classes. And there it is. In jiu-jitsu, there is no weight classes, okay? There can be competitively, but jiu-jitsu is the only martial art where you can have a guy that's 150 pounds go against a guy that's 250 pounds. Why? Because it's universal, it's effective, and it can work for guys, girls, doesn't matter what your body type. You could be a world champion in 295 pounds or 135. It's that awesome, Now, more philosophy, principles, so forth and so on. If you have a confrontation with a guy and he is 100 pounds heavier than you, and you're already thinking, oh, every fight stands up, that's true. You can stand up and run away. There's your solution. Do you really think that you want to trade punches with a guy that's 100 pounds heavier than you? Let's just say a foot taller. Why? Because you're so great at boxing and you've been boxing your whole life? Okay, maybe. But what if he's a foot taller and even the greatest boxer ever in the light category stands little to no chance at all to a guy that has no boxing experience and is a big, heavy guy that's a farmer that from some random bar in some city you probably ever heard of. Okay? Actual weight and physical force multiplied by punching someone equals something even with no experience. The opposite is true, and it's a lot harder on the ground. Now, if a guy is bigger than you, or stronger, or maybe not stronger, just bigger or longer, or whatever, fill in the blank, all right, and it would not be regulated by some sport because the weight class, the difference in body size is so different. Okay? You always have the chance to run. You can run and go get that gun. You got a gun? Well, you have to run. Well, that kind of rhymed, not on purpose, but it did, right? If you don't have a gun and you're in a circumstance to where you have people, or you have a one-on-one confrontation, whatever, right? And a guy is bigger, 100 pounds heavier, a foot taller, whatever, and he's a kickboxer, you can run. If you think there's going to be any sort of a confrontation, you can run. You can always run. Now, taking that exact scenario, if there is nowhere to run, would you rather trade punches or even the playing field? The second, if a guy grabs your wrist and holds you, no matter what the fighting style is, okay? If a guy is bigger and heavier and stronger and holds you, now your option for all the escapes, for all the other combat, martial arts, boxing, kickboxing, fill in the blank, I don't care, whatever, you name it, okay, is gone. You have one escape for almost all martial arts and relatively no escape when somebody grabs and holds on to you. You no longer can run. That's why you need to learn Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu is for two purposes, mainly, right? To even the playing field and win on an offensive way, or to escape in a defensive way, all while you're in contact with one another. That's why you need to learn Jiu-Jitsu, okay? If a guy's a lot bigger, a lot heavier, and he boxes or something like that, you don't have to wonder what he does. You can just run. But if someone is grabbing a hold of you, you need to learn how to fight in a contact-to-contact scenario as opposed to a disconnected scenario. Why would you trust an alarm company to get the police when you could realistically do that? And if something does happen, you can subdue the person, you can defend, or you can at least learn Jiu-Jitsu to how to escape being held down. And then you can go get your gun, or run for the police, or run out of your house and get someone else that trains Jiu-Jitsu, or I don't care, whatever. But that's why you need to learn it. It makes no sense in the world why people believe that having an alarm system is something that's so good. They rely on the police, which are 20 minutes away, and don't ever take the time to learn a combat martial art. Best of all, Jiu-Jitsu. Because in all the other martial arts, if you're boxing, kickboxing, whatever, if a guy's heavier than you, okay, you're not going to try to trade punches with them realistically. You're just going to run. But in Jiu-Jitsu, you can even the playing field by taking them down and choking them out. Or, if someone does hold you, and they are bigger than you, in Jiu-Jitsu, you can learn how to escape and get that gun and save your life, or whoever else you care about. That's why you need to learn. What kind of a crazy person would rely, and this is the crazy psychology of the most of the world, why are you going to have an alarm system for your house, but you won't have one for yourself? You're going to protect your house and not learn how to defend your own body? That's ridiculous. Learn Jiu-Jitsu. I say it because I mean it. You know? It is the only martial art that you can have where you have open weight classes in a competitive fashion and have the smaller guy beat the bigger guy. 100%. That's it. If there's a big guy in a bar, he wants to fight me, I can always run. He grabs a hold of me, now it's an even playing field. If he doesn't grab a hold of me, I can grab a hold of him, take him down, and now it's my world. Now it's an even playing field. Learn Jiu-Jitsu. You know, a lot of my videos are kind of all over the place, you know, serious, not serious, fun, maybe educational, psychological, whatever. But I was thinking about this the other day, and it just makes no sense. Why is it that so many people in the world have an alarm system protecting their house? And if something happens, they push a button, relying on the police, which may be 20 minutes away, but they don't ever take the time to develop an alarm system for their own body, a martial art, to defend themselves. It makes no sense. Zero sense. Pushing an alarm, like I said, pushing an alarm for someone to come save your life is kind of like hitting the snooze alarm for your life, hoping the police will show up before they're done doing whatever they want to do. So, help yourself out and learn jiu-jitsu. That's it. It's just that simple. You don't really have a choice. You don't have a choice to make people, you don't really have a choice to not defend your own life. If you believe in getting an alarm system is such a good idea to protect your house, you should start being smarter and believe that having an alarm system for yourself, a way of protecting yourself or your family or others, is something that you should be doing. You know, because sometimes the best response, the quickest one, is staring right at you. It's yourself. Anyway, with that being mentioned, I hope everybody has a beautiful day. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. It makes me feel so good inside. Yeah, I'm serious. Just learn jiu-jitsu. I could recap this for 1,000 times and it still won't change. That most people are crazy that they're going to get an alarm system for their house. Maybe think I'm going to get a gun, which is cool, right? I got a gun, you know? And then if something bad happens, rely on the police and not ever take the time to develop an alarm for yourself.